You know what I find to be weird, and we see this a lot, me and mistaken in the system. Everything that it's almost like we uphold negativity. You know what I'm saying? Like it's cool to do this. It's cool to be a AWOL. It's cool to not do your work. It's cool to but and then you're doing those things, bettering yourself, then it's not cool. We see that every day at school. It's like the peer pressure. Oh, it's cool to fight. Oh, get that fight on. You gonna let her talk to you like that? Why do we as a people feel like that's we put
So
that pedestal?
So it's a distraction mechanism, right? Because like as much as Marcus was saying about like in the 90s there was this push towards athleticism, I think back to like the 90s sitcoms, right? Bill Cosby was a doctor, Uncle Phil was a lawyer,
yes.
Mr. Hightower was a teacher. There
Mhm.
were all like there was this variety of black male masculinity, right? That was not entertainment or athletics.
Mhm.
I think somewhere when we started to get closer to the 2000s and moving forward, it became so much more rigid, so much
Mhm.
more tight of like what that black male masculinity looks like. And then somewhere before 2000 and 2010, it was like, oh no, now this is a threat. We have to start to promote this softer side of black masculinity, right? And I think that's where like the not that black women have had the grace of being the most feminine human beings ever, right? Black women have always been stripped of their femininity in grander society. Um, there has been like this push towards masculinity in the black women spectrum, and so it's fascinating to watch because like I agree with you, Marcus, in terms of like representation and what that looks like. Watching this shift kind of happen over these generations and watching people who are influenced between those things start to kind of mold their lifestyles and their perspectives through what they're seeing in media.
Mhm.
It's huge,
Mhm.
right? Go ahead.
Let me just say this. This is my conspiracy, my theory. Okay, as a person who lived in the '90s, I think we had too much power. I think that it was a threat. If you live in the
Oh yeah, yeah,
90s,
yeah. I get
white
you.
kids wanted to be black. And I'm not talking about they didn't just listen to our music, they wanted to be us. We had a lot of power. I mean, that positivity, it was rubbing off. It was black power. We were, a unite. We were a unity, and I think that became a threat. And so, who's over music? Who pushes? Yeah, we sing it and everything, but who pushes it? And
You're gonna
so
get the channel band. You go down this road.
and we're very impressionable people. So when we saw the Cosby, it made you want to go to an HBCU. It made you want to go to college. It made you want to be a professor, a doctor, a lawyer, or what have you. But just imagine if we all were to do that. And we've already talked about how the physical strength that we were born with. Now you're putting the intellect with the physical.
And on top of that, because of how our a lot of us, how our you can say it, I guess that I hate to use some of the street words, but I mean, I guess since the people in chat they might understand it too. I guess the swag of us, we become professionals. A lot of these guys that are professionals too, their wives like just gravitate towards that because they love that. And I guess I don't want to. They love that masculinity of it. I don't. I'm just telling you straight up. It's just like that. They see that we're for one, we're not fearful. We speak our mind. We're not really timid. We literally go in there, and when we say things and do things, we do it with confidence and assurity, and it draws them. So yeah,
So I wanted to add this. Shan, I don't know that there's ever been a time in history where black people have not been cool, the standard, the like it factor,
Sure.
X factor, whatever, right? Like it has always existed where like, and I know we get to be very like, US focused in a lot of these conversations, right? Like even if you like delineate and backtrack towards why black women's hair is policed to the degree that it is, boils down to the jealousy of white women
White
towards
women.
the
Yep.
presentation of black women's exoticism, right?
Mhm.
Like black people have always been the standard for like the it factor, because of genetics, because of the level of like connection to the earth, because of energy, because of biology, however it is that you want to look at it. There's never been a time period where Black people have not set the trend, right? How that delineates from that point when other people take it over is a totally different factor, right? Like that trajectory is out of our control, but it has always been Black people who've been at the forefront of change, of education, of fashion, of like regardless of the industry, right? When it comes to medicine, when it comes to everything, Black people have been at the center of it. So like I can't I love history. I can't think of any time period that has ever existed at any point on the globe where Black people have not been like this seed that has planted what has come to exist.
So it's, but if I have a question, just think about it this way. So what is the one thing that Black people are lacking though? So we have all these things. So what is it that we're lacking that's not making us, if you're the trendsetter, you're all of these things, you're lacking something because you're still not on top. So what I'm trying to say is, if I'm on the other side, I'm going to look at like, look at here, we got to keep them back. Bring them back down a little bit. You know what I'm saying? and we are impressionable people. This new music has gotten, it's almost to the point where it's in your face and it's to the opposite extreme of things. But we fall for it. It's like, you guys understand what I'm saying?
I do. So I think that, in my opinion, right, everybody has their own opinion. I think that Black people have mastered the art of influence without power. I think
how do you get power?
Yeah. So
you're the smartest person in the room, right? You at least got to be the smartest.
The smartest, the most talented, the best looking, the whatever field you want.
All the other ones.
We have everything, right? And we're able to create these systems where people are able to build up. We create foundations. We're so solid on creating these incredible foundations, whether it's knowledge, whether it's whatever it is, however you want to look at it. If you want to like really follow the trail of thought in schools and all of this stuff, like even when we look at like the medical field, right? We take a look at the Hippocratic Oath, and Hippocrates studied in ancient Egypt, right? Like his philosophies come from Black people. So when we take a look at these things, like Black people really are the seed that grows everything that comes into existence. Our ability to influence is bar none. Our ability to retain power in relationship to the level of influence we have is severely lacking. And I think it's because we are such a compassionate group of people.
We are compassionate.
Yeah, I think there's like this ingrained desire to see growth in society that we're willing to forfeit that to our own detriment.
Yeah, I agree with that. We are some forgiving people.
Mm-hmm.
We are. Isn't that crazy though? I mean, not that we shouldn't be. I think the right thing to do is to be compassionate, to be, but it is to the detriment of our, What were you pointing at? I took yourself off mute. I can't hear you.
But it's so funny. When Anonymous want to say something, because she goes.
I just want to say that. And they say he the true king, and he was right. But I digress.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I definitely can agree to that. But at the same time, I think no matter what it is, it's this thing that we did when we were going through school. We had to study car wrecks, right? And these specific car wrecks, you had to do a lot of crazy stuff when you go through medical school, but we had to study these car wrecks. And this specific car wrecks only was consistent of people that ran into trees and light poles, right? And so what we found is that 70+% of the cars that hit the light poles of the trees, they hit them square on. It never was hardly ever a sliding and hitting it from the front. It was always just completely square on. And so what we end up finding out is that neurologically, even though you were sliding, it's the fact that they never took their focus off that pole. So the body naturally corrected you and took you to the area that you were focusing on. So I got a lot out of that, me myself. I'm like, that is crazy. So what they did is that we found out also that through that, the NASCAR drivers, if they lose control, they are trained to turn their head to the center of the track, because when they do that, their body naturally corrects them and takes them in the direction that they want to go. So the reason why I'm saying that is that when you talk about the Bill Cosby's, when you talked about those shows like that, the reason why is because they know that almost everybody, especially now, everybody has one of these in their hand. And it does not matter what you want. It's going to be matter what you see on that phone, what you see on TV. It's going to be what they want you to see. And here's what's really, really interesting about that. Music is very phenomenal in a way. Music is one of the few things you're going to find in nature that stimulates both sides of the hemispheres of the brain at the same time. Music is one of the few things that do that. And that's why music, that has to have music with a message behind it. Every time you got, like right now, if I said y'all all gonna know that's Folgers.
So you can right.
So what I'm saying, none of us really intentionally listen to the Folgers commercial, but somehow we all know it. How is that? Because they know that the music stimulates both hemispheres of the brain, and in doing so, also when music does that, your brain doesn't give consent to what message goes in it when music is stimulating both sides. So they can put whatever message in there, and they do know that by doing this so much after a period of time, you and I, all of you guys that are listening, we've out of the blue, we found ourselves singing the Folger commercials, even though we didn't even try to learn it. So how did that happen? Because it constantly got played, and when it got embedded in our subconscious, we end up carrying out those actions. So what I'm saying that for is that if you have a certain type of music, if you have a certain type of thing that they're pushing out when it comes to music and all that, if they keep on playing this thing, you constantly listen to it, it's going to get into your subconscious. Next thing you know, you're going to find yourself carrying out those actions, although you didn't intend to, because the brain does not have the defense mechanism to give consent to what message is being pushed in when the music is going forth like that.
And you just stop at music, because what came into my mind is being in these YouTube spaces and hearing the same talking points over and over in regards to how people are, men are like this, women are like this, men are like this, women are like this, right? And so people, when you can't find a good woman, there are no good women out there. You can't find there are no good men out there. Do you think that that's part of the problem? And so now our brain is, we're focused, like how you said, when you're driving a car, your mind is always looking for that to reinforce what you are.
Exactly. You're going to find exactly what you're focusing on. So that's why if you see a title, women are always this, or how come black women can't find a man, or black men say that women are too great. When you see that, your brain instantly gears you into, you getting ready to go in there to see how bad women are. You're going to go in there to see how bad men are. You're going to go in there to see how aggressive women are. And then when you go out there in the real world, your brain gears you to only look for that. And that's all you see, and that becomes your world. And that's why you say, I can't find a good man, I can't find a good one, because that's all you're focusing on, and that's all you see. So even though you're trying to avoid hitting that light pole, the fact that you stay focusing on it, your body corrected you and took you directly to what you were focusing on. And that's why I tell people, so are we in there like in medicine? The reason why you would come and tell me, if you came to me and say, hey, I've been having these issues, my stomach feels like this, I've been having a headache, why are you telling me this? You're telling me your symptoms, but what I'm going to do, I don't want to just treat your symptoms. I want to treat the issue that's causing your symptoms. So when we talk about these things that's going on in the YouTube space, I'm like, guys, look, I get it. I know y'all want me to come on the panel, but I'm not going to sit here and just keep on talking about symptoms. I want to get to the nucleus that's causing the symptoms. And if I get to the nucleus of that and y'all don't want to discuss that, okay, I'm going to leave. Because all we're going to do is sit around and talk about nothing but symptoms. I got a headache. I got a stomach ache. I got a foot ache. I got a backache. Y'all going to keep on talking about these? Or do we want to fix it? Let's fix it. Otherwise, it's just going to be a bunch of just people talking about the symptoms constantly.